Renegade, our Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Meg.
And today we are talking about episode 39, Daydream.
In this episode, the ruse of Winry's abduction by Scar is revealed, but a plan of rescue must still be hatched. A brutal storm is coming, one which only Alphonse Elric can brave.
Yes, and this covers manga chapter 72, A Chain of Negativity, A Pebble of Goodness, and chapter 73, A Daydream. I really like when the chapter titles and the episode titles match.
Yeah. I feel like that doesn't happen too often in Full
No. And, translations can vary, too, so
yeah.
few and far between.
Let's jump right into this. As we saw at the end of last episode, Scar has Winry, and that scene continues. Kimblee tries to attack Scar, but Ed stops him because he's like, no, he has Winry. Please don't do that. But he wasn't as polite. And then Scar, he basically does the same thing that Kimblee did to him and his family, where he destroys the building and cracks and everything comes down. It's in the manga they say that, and I actually think in the anime it says that too. Now look where I am. I'm on, I'm above you or whatever.
I have the high ground.
Yeah. Yes, he does have the high ground. Anyway, he destroys the building and then disappears. But then we see what really happened between Winry and Scar. After Winry confronts him about killing her parents, instead of getting mad, she finds a bandage and wraps around his arm.
Yeah, which she says we should bandage this up or you'll bleed out. And I had already read the manga, so maybe that's why my mind was thinking this, but in the anime I'm like, okay, so you're lightly wrapping a dirty piece of cloth around his open wound. It's in the manga, she makes a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. I was just thinking, is it really effective in the anime? Is that really stopping the bleeding? And it's not soaking through the bandage either. Is he bleeding anymore?
Yeah, probably not. That was not the animator's brightest moment, I guess.
The budget was going towards something else.
Yeah, couldn't afford to draw a tourniquet.
No, that's how Black Clover is. The scene before the epic animation breaks down and you see all these cool things that leave your mouth hanging open. It's they skimp on moving the characters' mouths. So you can tell an epic fight is coming because the character will be saying something, but his mouth only moves once.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
That's interesting. Anyway, while she's doing that, Scar's he's like, are you forgiving me? And she's like, nope, I'm not going to forgive she says wanton murder. But she's doing what her parents would want her to do. And then Ed does something so adorable. He pats her head and hugs her, and it's a short moment, but it is so sweet. Both Megan and our hearts just melted.
I think we both went, oh, at the same time.
Yeah.
So by this point you fully shipped them together, but how I viewed it more so was this deep friendship and bond that spans their whole lives. You can, definitely take it as a ship thing, definitely take it as a romantic thing, but remember that these are two kids who really haven't confessed their feelings to each other, and the norm for this situation would be an awkward moment, an awkward pat or a hesitant hold your hand sort of thing, especially since they're teenagers struggling with these romantic emotions. But I get the feeling that if Al had his physical body, he would have done something similar, because that's just how close the three of them are.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't necessarily think romance. It was more it just felt so natural and so cute.
Yeah.
Anyway, then Scar asks, Miles about his earlier comment, calling him his brother or
red-eyed brother.
Yeah, and so then he revealed that takes off his glasses, which honestly, like, always so the cool reveal, like he's got red eyes. And Scar then asks him, I think is an obvious question is like, how can you serve in the military? And he says that he's working from the inside to change things.
Yes, and in the manga, Miles describes his efforts like a pebble making ripples in a pond. Like his actions will branch outward and affect people and hopefully make a bigger change. And I like that because that relates to like the manga chapter title, like the Pebble of Goodness.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like the
All
little
coming
things,
together.
yes, the little things do count.
Yeah. And Scar appreciates it. He thanks him for what he's doing, and he's like, "You're a good man." And Kimblee and his men are coming for them, but they note that a storm is coming, so they're going to need to find shelter soon. And while this scene is playing out, Marco and May arrive, and Miles wants to take Scar back to Briggs and punish him, but Marco and May say that they need him because they need him to translate the notes. And Major Miles very quickly gets on their side. He's like, "Oh, you need him to translate the notes? Well, we want those notes translated too, so we're going to help you guys." And then he has to convince Ed that they need him because Ed is like, "Nope, no way." He
tried to kill me multiple times.
Yeah, like
he killed me in experience. He tried to hurt her. Yeah, but in the manga, actually, May defends Scar's honor, saying that he's not a bad person. To accentuate that point, she sicks Xiao Mei on Ed, and she like bites his head.
Yeah,
Scar's not a bad person. What?
So after Miles calms Ed down and convinces him that they need Scar, they remember that Kimblee soldiers are still there, the Chimeras, and Major Miles says to kill them. And Ed and Al immediately are like, "No, why would you do that? The Chimeras, they want to die." And this is like Al's pet peeve, I think, because he goes off on them, and he asks if they're content with who they are, and they're like, "What? No, we aren't." And he's like, "Well, why don't you search for your bodies?" And he shows them that he doesn't have a body either, and he still hasn't given up hope.
Yeah. You know what? Al doesn't get mad that often, but I've noticed when he does, it's usually on others' behalf when they give up on themselves. Like the last time I saw him that angry was when he and Ed first faced Scar, and Ed was like, "You can kill me, just don't hurt my little brother," who's ready to give himself up and just like be defeated. And that's when Al went off.
Al is awesome.
He's just
so caring.
People need to give him more appreciation.
Even though he's not my favorite, he's pretty great.
Yeah, he's up there on my list. Like if I had to make a list of most appreciated characters that I have from multiple media, he would be up there on that list.
Yeah. So while everybody's trying to figure out, how to let Scar and his group escape and then also save Winry from the clutches of the military, everybody notices that the storm is coming. And they're like, "How are we going to escape with this?" And then Yoki, for once in his life, is useful. And he's like, "Well, why do we go underground? Because it's a mining town, so they have to have underground tunnels."
Wow, he serves a purpose. No character is a throwaway character in this show.
Yeah, even though I think, honestly, this is like the first moment that he's been useful.
Yeah, he's not, I guess, like him, but
technically he also helped Marco escape because he pretended to.
He was probably forced into that.
Yeah, he was, but it was still useful.
I don't really like Yoki. He's not a good person, but he does have his moments of like there's comedic timing, and I can really appreciate that.
Yeah. So they decide to use the tunnels to escape, and Winry's going to go with them, but Major Miles is like, how how is that going to work? Because Kimblee is going to be suspicious if she also disappears. And this is when she suggests being taken hostage by Scar, and Ed and Al immediately say no, like, you can't do this, like, don't be stupid. And Winry is like, I want to choose my own destiny. I'm sick of people deciding what's going to happen to me.
Yeah, this time she's going to be a prisoner by choice, because she hates being used against Ed and Al, and she especially hates that all this time she really hasn't been able to do anything to help them on their journey aside from creating automail.
Yeah. So Ed and Al agree, and the plan has been hatched, and the Chimeras want to go with.
I'm actually really intrigued by the Chimera stories and stuff. So they're military, but they obviously were used for experiments for their bodies and made into chimeras. And I mean, like, when Al gave that speech, giving them a little bit of hope, like, if this kid can go on an impossible journey to try to get his body back, maybe we have hope to get ours back because we want to return to normal. They are kind of unwitting pawns in all of this. And when Ed, Al, and the others are talking about what's happening with the country and the horrible things that are going to go down, they're like, wait, what? No one told us this. We weren't a part of this plan. We don't know what's happening. If the country's going to be hurt and our families who live here are going to be harmed, we want to help you. We want to be on the right side.
Yeah. So they take them with, but you'll notice they still, like, are tied up because they don't totally trust them. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's totally fair. And then we get another adorable moment with Winry and Ed, because everybody's, like, parting ways, and one of the soldiers is like, hey, you need to take out your earrings because you'll get frostbite. And so Winry takes them out and gives them to Ed, and
don't worry, babe, I got your rings.
Yeah, and he's gonna keep them for her, and it's very cute. And then we see Kimblee and his men, and then Major Miles and the Elrics are waiting for the storm to pass, and while they're waiting, Miles gets a phone call from Briggs. And then we see everybody in the mining tunnel, and Marco is telling Winry that he knew her parents and how awesome they were and how they were willing to, like, help everybody, and they were an inspiration. And this gets Scar thinking about Winry's words about not forgiving wanton murder. And then that reminds him of his mentor who said the same thing. And he expands on that because he's like, don't forgive wanton murder because no good man can abide it, but it's important to break the cycle of violence. And then he also thinks about his brother, who I think what he remembers him saying is, like, don't act like the animals they think we are, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think he says
it's not exactly what he said.
Yeah, he'd rather beat their enemies by changing attitudes and fostering a community of, like, love, peace, and prosperity. I mean, like, it sounds kind of flowery and maybe impossible, but when his brother described it, the words he was using made it sound like it's not going to be easy, but if we stay the course, maybe we can inspire other people to have that harmony and unity.
Yeah, basically, I think this is, like, kind of a turning point for Scar. He's like, oh, maybe I should have listened to my mentor, because here's this girl that I did something horrible to, and yet she's able to not forgive me, but she wants to move past it and doesn't want to hurt me. I guess he's, like, thinking about her situation and then thinking about his situation, which are similar in ways. So that's where this is, I would say, not the first turning point for him, but
definitely a major step.
Yeah. And then Yoki is looking for a map to help them get out, and we see, I guess, two things. First, the chimeras are, like, totally just, like, ragging on each other about, like, why do you want to go back to your family? Like, one of them was like, you're a drunk and I don't know, I think he calls his wife, like, the old ball and chain. Like, Like,
Yeah, you know what?
they're,
That part wasn't in the manga, so I'm not sure if they'll
yeah,
mention their families at all. But like, one of them, the bigger one, he was like, I can't wait to see my wife and daughter again, and his fellow Chimera is joking like, oh, really? You want to be shackled down to because like family
yeah,
ties mean you have to stay in one place, yes, but it's kind of like, really, dude? But then he shoots back with like, well, your wife thought you were a useless drunk, so there.
yeah, yeah. Um, and then also May, she is looking pretty sad because she's very concerned about, like, she can't really bring the Philosopher's Stone information back to Shang because she knows that the Emperor will just use it to kill a bunch of people and make a Philosopher's Stone for himself. But I don't know, Marco and May's relationship is very
I
cute.
love it.
Yeah, because
It's
he's
like
like,
the fatherly relationship she never had from her own
yeah,
dad.
yeah. And he's like, well, maybe these notes will have an answer for you, and don't give up hope. And then we learn the phone call that Miles got was from Briggs, and Briggs has been invaded by the Central Forces, and Armstrong has been sent to Central. So it is not really safe for them to go back to have Scar and everybody go back there because Central is in charge now. But nobody can go and warn Scar and everybody else because there's the big snowstorm. And that's when Al is like, my time has come. Um, he's
I
got his,
am Rudolph.
yeah. he's got, he's got his, armored body that won't be affected by the snowstorm.
Yes,
So
body of steel.
he's gonna go tell He's going to tell everybody that Briggs is dangerous and they need to, come up with a new plan. So we see him go out and it's really bad outside and in like a huge gust of wind and everything like becomes white. And then all of a sudden Al sees his body at the gate. And he like reaches out for it, but then it disappears again. And this is when he realizes that his armor is rejecting his soul because it's not compatible with it.
Yes. This is one of those moments when you're watching it for the first time, you go, wait, what? Wait, go back.
Yeah, yeah. And then the final scene of the episode, Father is looking at this transmutation circle and he's listing the candidates, Al and Ed and Hohenheim, and then he says maybe Azumi, and he needs one more. And then
Whoever could it be?
I don't know. And then the episode ends.
Yep. Yeah, it's a really good episode. So we had 3 voice actor notes for this one since we didn't cover anything last time. So we're gonna cover the 2 chimeras. So Jerzo was the first one. He's the bigger one who turns into like the toad-like creature. He's played by Andrew Love, who is Bjorn from Vinland Saga, Proto from Black Clover, and King from Run with the Wind. Watch Run with the Wind; it's so good. And then Zampano
Watch Vinland Saga. It's
okay. Zampano is the other one, like the porcupine warthog one. He's played by Chris Rager, who is Cementos from My Hero Academia, Sagan from Dr. Stone, and Gracianas from Vinland Saga.
I have no idea how to say that name, so I don't know.
Yes. And then the last one we wanted to cover was another one of those, like, background characters who is named, though you don't hear the name, but we recognize the voice, so we looked it up. And yeah, the last time we did that was Neil from Briggs, because we had to. But this time, it's one of Miles' fellow Briggs soldiers. His name is Liam. He's played by Ian Sinclair. And I'm sorry, I'm about to go off on his IMDb. Is Tsukasa Shishio from Dr. Stone, Kotaro Bokuto from Haikyuu, Kurina Soma from Fruits Basket, Niall Dock from Attack on Titan, Magna from Black Clover, Einar from Vinland Saga.
Einar,
thank you. Einar from Vinland Saga, and Shoji from My Hero Academia. And so many more. His IMDb, I was scrolling for a long time, but we wanted to say all those because he's Like, you hear him and you know it's him, and he is such a good actor. Not like we want to meet him or anything.
No, why
No,
would we want to do
never.
that?
Mr. Sinclair, if you ever listen to this podcast, on the very random chance you ever listen to this podcast, hi, well done. Way to go. You're awesome. But yeah, so name meanings, Jerzo and Zampano, we're assuming that's just their last names. So Jerzo is, I did a Google search, and apparently it means dreamer, wisdom, or hard worker. And Zampano, according to Google, means smart, enormous, or good. And then Liam is Irish for protector. And we especially liked his name was Liam because we have a character that we made named Liam. He is part of a silent manga that we did, and hopefully someday we can release that. It's part of a competition we entered, so we can't release anything about that until the results are in.
Mm-hmm.
But
yep.
Stay tuned, please.
All right. One theory we wanted to talk about was when Father is like putting all the pawns out around the transmutation circle. He puts Azumi's pawn down, but then he like knocks it over, and so we were curious about why that was. We weren't really able to come up with anything satisfying. Because the Fuhrer, I guess my thoughts were that when the Fuhrer met Azumi, he like used his eye or whatever and thought that she might be a good candidate. But maybe they aren't sure that she's seen the truth because they haven't seen her use her alchemy at all. Or another theory that I had is they're just scared of her. So
yeah. I mean, one of the homunculi for sure saw her alchemy, and that was the previous greed. But I can't remember if did the Fuhrer walk in on her doing the alchemy in fighting greed, or was he there for the aftermath?
No, he wasn't there for that, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, we just thought that was an interesting choice, because that happened in the manga too, that he knocked her piece over. So I was like, oh, why wouldn't he be sure about her? But yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I was kind of confused by that, but maybe we'll like in the manga they'll reveal that, but I don't remember.
They also have other people in mind for candidates.
Yeah.
Who haven't seen the truth. So. But yeah, that's an interesting partial theory, hypothesis, if you will. And then another thing we wanted to cover was the philosophical analysis side of things, because a lot of characters were talking about forgiveness in this episode. And I've been reading a book on forgiveness. So it's called Forgiveness, and it's by Matthew West, who is a singer-songwriter. And yeah, if you don't know him, look him up, please. He's awesome. But forgiveness doesn't mean that you condone or support somebody's actions. It means you choose to live in community with that person and are willing to move forward with them. So I think Winry, though she says, I don't forgive you, she has a spirit of forgiveness when she's helping Scar. Like this charity and generosity she's showing to him prove that she's ready to move beyond the feelings she has and try to, I don't know, reconcile with him, I guess, and maybe even see the good in him because she's willing to work with him.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like, she did forgive. In my mind, she did forgive him.
Yeah, he's just not on the right path right now, so she can't really say it.
Yeah.
Because he's
still like doing,
not in the proper mindset.
Things. Yeah.
And then the story elements analysis-wise, the group is splitting up. Classic. That always happens.
Nice summary.
Let's split up and look for clues.
Yes. All right. What was your favorite line of the episode?
Mine came from Al when he said, "No, a life is a life. What better reason do you need than that?"
Yes, and I was like, "Get it, Al."
He's so good.
And
what was your favorite line?
My favorite line came from Major Miles when he said, I am an ball and pebble tossed into the ocean of the Mestrian military. Maybe in time, the ripples I create will become great waves.
Yes, that's awesome.
All right. What did we learn in this episode?
A life is a life. It deserves to be protected, and forgiveness should be considered.
And then who pushed the story forward?
Winry for suggesting that Scar kidnap her, and also Miles for convincing Ed to keep Scar as a temporary ally and then send everyone to breaks. Fun times. Good episode. Things are heating up.
Yes. Once again. That's like we were just
the show doesn't quit.
Yeah, it's just like it kind of like it's like
it peaks,
action
levels,
and then,
peaks, levels, and it just keeps getting higher. Like it never goes back down. So it, like story structure wise, there's the rising action, climax, and then the not fallout, but like resolution. Mm-hmm. But I feel like in this show, the resolution doesn't come until like the last 5 minutes of the last episode.
Yeah.
And I don't mind at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. We will be back next week with another episode.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.